They had to at least win 3 out of 4, we think, the way they were playing. But it's just amazing the lack of support for Max. It just continues.
It's sort of baffling because, obviously Max is really good and he goes deep into games and he's striking out guys and he's just doing everything that you'd ask for them to win. And it's really, when you look at it, between Max going 7 innings every night and Sean Doolittle kind of lined up for the ninth, it's like they have to get 3 outs. This guy pitches normally, and for whatever reason, they just have not been able to do that.
Yeah, and the defense let him down yesterday as well. Matt Adams was not sharp. He had a bad game. They gave the error to Turner. I think that was in the 7th, but Adams has to catch that ball. Zim makes that play. That's my opinion, but that's just the way I felt about that play. And the defense was just not good, and they can't score any runs for Max. Max was clearly frustrated after the game.
Yeah, he has been. He's one of the guys who takes these losses and these losing streaks, I think, as hard as anybody in that clubhouse, and especially the games when he's on the mound. Pitcher wins and losses are kind of what they are, but it's just something that he takes pride in, is going out there and kind of being the ace and the horse and the guy to lead the team to victory. I think every day when he's out there. So, with a guy as competitive as him, I know the season is probably going, but especially just the sort of just baffling nature that when he's been on the mound, specifically just how bad they've been, or just how unable to win they've kind of been, I think is again, those things just take a toll on him, and you can just kind of see the frustration. I felt the last couple of starts has really kind of built up for him. That the post game he's been kind of especially sour when things have kind of not gone their way.
Jamal, where do you think Davey Martinez is in terms of support from Rizzo and the ownership? Had they lost 3 out of 4 to the Marlins, could he have lost his job?
From judging from what Rizzo and obviously the comments he made publicly on Friday, seems that they don't want to make a decision at this point as early in the season. I think that but right now he has a bit. It feels like he has some time here to get these guys going in the right direction here. Whether it be, not now the lineup is starting to finally look back together. The fact that that they did at least look a little bit better that weekend against the Marlins. And yes, it is the Marlins, but they didn't play well against against the Mets. You could have said the same thing. And I think that basically we're at a point. I think if they have to make some kind of wholesale changes here, we'll get close to the trade deadline. If they're looking at potentially trading Rendon, trading Doolittle, trading Max Scherzer, or whatever those things might be on the table. If those are all on the table, I think then that's when you'll see the manager also kind of be evaluated and see whether or not they need to make a change there. But I think until Mike Rizzo doesn't really punt on seasons and punt on things, very willingly. And we saw that last year, even when things kind of went south, that they, obviously the ownership kind of nixed the deal, late for Bryce Harper and some of the trades that they made there. So I just think they're going to give every opportunity there is to see if there's a way to turn this around and to see if they can make this work. And I think that once they feel that the season's too far gone, that's when I think you'll see those things start to be kind of put up for debate, whether or not Davey is job security is there enough.
Jamal, any updates on the Rendon negotiations at this point, or is it pretty much ground to a halt?
It kind of had pretty much ground to a halt, but as the last time I had checked on it, and just the fact that every time Anthony Rendon kind of goes out there and does what he does every single day, I think that price tag is just slowly going up at this point, because right now Scott Boras and him, they can make a pretty valid argument that this guy should be paid somewhere in the vicinity of what Nolan Arenado got from the Rockies this year. You look at just the way that Rendon's last couple of seasons of as far as WARs, he compares to Arenado in just pretty much every category outside of the accolades of Gold Gloves or All Stars or whatever. Rendon's got all those numbers, and when he's having his kind of career right now, I don't think there's any kind of rush on their side and on the Boras side to say, take themselves out of a bidding war, especially when you see free agent class go the way it has. So I say right now there's not just been a whole lot of movement there, just because I think the price tag on their end is high, and it for every reason to be right now, because he's playing like one of the best 4 or 5 hitters in the National League, and they're not going to take any discount or any kind of services under that price.
Jamal, you mentioned maybe if it reaches a point where they have to become sellers and maybe trade Rendon, get some prospects. I could understand. I would hate to see that as a Nats fan, but I could understand it. You maybe don't think you're going to get a deal done, so you do the best you can, salvage it. But you also threw Max's name in there. And if they moved on from Max, I understand why everybody would want him. But if they move, that's really going to rock the fan base. Do you think that really has some viability to it, though, if this season really continues to tank, that they could potentially move on even from Max?
I think we're. Let me be clear. We're pretty far from that point at this point because for all the same reasons I just talked about, Mike Rizzo and his organization. They're not going to give up on this season. And when you give up on, you trade away Max, you got 2 years away.
Yeah.
You're saying that we're still 2 or 3 years away from contention. And I think there's a way to look at this roster and say that even the flaws they have right now, you still can kind of retool and be ready to go. Next year. I think though, next year or even the year after. They just have to do kind of an honest evaluation and see what do they feel the window or what do they feel they can compete. Do they think that, they want to give Soto and Robles a little bit of time over the next 2 years to figure out everything? If those are really good players, but probably still going through their growing pains. Do they think that, the key boom and Garcia way, they want to kind of wait to capitalize on that, or do they want to, again, try to retool with veterans and go for next year? I just think Max can get you such a huge haul if you dangle him for 2.5 or so seasons out there that it's something that I would probably at least entertain and try to just see realistically when we think we can contend. If that number, if that year is, that's in a year or two, then obviously you don't do it. But if it seems like it's a little bit further out and you think that you're going to need some time and you have to change manager, I don't know why that wouldn't be on the table. I would probably guess that Sean Doolittle makes a little bit more sense just because relievers are usually the ones that get moved a little bit more than pitchers. So again, I don't think we're there yet. I don't want to get anybody panicking here on this Tuesday morning. But I do think it's something that, they're going to have to assess because he is 35. And, if you don't think you're going to have a window to win the next couple of years, then you should absolutely move.
Every week. We've had him on for several years now, developed a nice little connection with Mike. And people say, oh, you guys, you won't criticize him or, you cover up for everything. And we're saying, no, you could take all your shots, whatever you want. But my question is, what I've been trying to point out recently is, did you think that this was a contending team? What was your prediction for the team? Because everyone now, it's easy to say the roster's fatally flawed, but I don't think people necessarily saw that in April.
No, I mean, I was maybe a little more skeptical. It sounds very revisionist. I was a little more skeptical than I think the people who thought this was a 95 World Series win team. I said, I don't feel bad. I think that I thought the starting pitching depth would be an issue. I thought the bullpen would just simply be bad. I didn't know it would be on fire for 2 months.
Yeah.
I thought that, so I thought that those were just kind of some issues that the Braves are a little bit better. So I thought that that's to be kind of competing for a wild card spot. So I didn't expect this at all. I didn't expect that just the guys who just have not worked at all. Brian Dozier's giving you nothing. Trevor Rosenthal is obviously giving you nothing. You've gotten very little from the back end of the rotation. And then obviously the bullpen has been what it was. And you combine that with injuries. It's been kind of a perfect storm that these moves that, all sound reasonable. And we all praised the time and said, wow, look how the Nats relocated this money from Bryce Harper, reallocated, I should say, this money from Harper. I thought that these were all sensible moves that, some of them I had maybe minor qualms with, but in general, I thought it's going to make them a better, kind of more deeper team in this year. And it just, I've been surprised. In the way it felt, it kind of is all just, fell out for the Nats. But at the same time, I think that, I think that when you look at just the season, the way you look at why the season hasn't gone the way it has, I think that the fact that a lot of their free agent moves have not worked out, I think is to me one of the biggest, it's probably the biggest reason right now, I think, why they're in the situation that they're in.